Hey guys, it's Friday. Out here, I got a couple jobs in to cut for some people, and I thought, since we made progress on this, we got, which I never made a video on this, but this Z-lifter, this whole mechanism right here was actually loose and would sort of just jiggle around, and that's one of the reasons I have this tape on there. But when I just thought it was supposed to be that way. I don't know why. I just didn't know any better. And as it turns out, it's actually supposed to be really tight on this slider back here. There's a ball screw in there, or a lead screw, I guess. And so this thing, there's a stepper or servo up here, and that moves the Z, the Z travel up and down. And all right, so it moves up and down, and again, it was just loose, and so when I just happened to ask, was that maybe causing part of the problem? When I called them, they were like, oh yeah, we had a guy that was putting these together for a while, and he was not doing them correctly, and a few of them got shipped out loose, and so they sent me a video on how to take it apart. And it's actually got some nylon rollers inside this slider that pinch against the outside of the slot in there. And there's an eccentric adjustment where you adjust that until you get it tight, and put a little bit of a preload on it. And so got that, and that's super tight now. And then of course we got the air pressure thing that you saw yesterday. And then when I got this thing, they got a prep guide here, setup guide, and they kind of walk you through, all the setup stuff. And somewhere in here it said, if you bought the full table and got it shipped from us, you can skip to step number 15, which I did, happily, because I'm just overwhelmed with all this stuff, and the lower amount of things I have to read and research and figure out, the better, because you have to think about it. I got all this equipment. I bought it all within a very, very short period of time. So you're kind of just learning each piece, and it's not like I've owned this stuff for 10 years and know it inside and out and know what to look for. So you just kind of learn it as you go, and just keep making progress, keep getting things dialed in, and knowing what to look for, and that kind of thing. So when I was talking to him the other day about this, when this thing is rapiding, or it's moving really quickly, you can actually see the bottom of the torch shake a little bit, and that shake, I think, is mapping its way through in the edge of the cut. You don't always see it, but it definitely shows up here and there as sort of just kind of a jagged edge, kind of thing. And so anyway, now I'm actually going back through those early steps, and the steps 1 through 15 are, if you just buy a gantry kit from them and you built your own table, they walk you through the process of getting your gantry installed. But one of the things that they talked about in the early steps is, you've got this, let me show you on this side, maybe there's more light. Yeah. You got this V, hopefully let me see if that'll zoom in better. You got this V bearing here, and then you've got a solid bearing on the bottom side there. And it tells you in there, that these bolts should be adjusted, and again, a preload put up against the bottom of that, and that if you have it set correctly, you should not be able to easily move this bearing. Well, guess what? You can just roll it. It's not even touching, and the same on the other side. So what that's doing is just allowing this thing to cock and rock, and especially on direction change. If you go in this way and all of a sudden it rapids that way, well, it's because there's no preload there. It's going to allow it to cock, which may cause issues with the sprocket engaging with the chain, and who knows what. But so I'm got the covers off of it now, and just kind of working back through all these early setup stuff, and I've got to cut some 1/8 inch stuff here later today, which hopefully will reveal a nicer finish, and we'll confirm that we've made progress on that. So all right, guys, I'll bring you back here after a while when I get this stuff done and get this piece cut. All right, so I got those lower bearings loose here. So the instructions actually say that there is a a V bearing on the bottom, and there is a lip there that you would think a V bearing would ride in, but they actually gave you solid bearings. So I'm gonna ask them about that, if they just changed the design or if this is how it's supposed to be. But I could see how having a V bearing on the top and bottom could cause some binding or whatever if these aren't, you know, in perfect alignment. So I'm gonna go ahead and raise these up per the instructions and cock the bolt a little bit at an angle from one side, and then tighten the nut actually, and then tighten it on the back side, is what they say gives it the preload it needs. So I'll do that and see what we get. All right, so I got those bearings adjusted. The next thing it calls for, and again, the lighting's not the best here, but you can barely make out in there the sprocket that the idler sprocket that connects with this. And it's interesting that you know, it says that they need to be adjusted the correct height. If they are too low, you will notice roughness in the travel, which is definitely what I was seeing. So it's probably too low, and that roughness I was seeing, the moving around, was actually the sprocket hitting down into the bottom of, you know, of the table here. And you know, if you roll a sprocket across the table, yeah, it's going to be rough. So they say that to loosen the bolts up for it, which are here, place an 1/8 inch spacer underneath it, and then push down on it, and then retighten the bolts, and then pull your spacer out. So I'll get that done. All right, well, one of the things that people ask me quite often is, why are these two center pole posts so far off the ground? And the main reason is I've had it up on casters, you can see there. So go ahead and get this jacked up and get those casters out from under it and lower it, and then lower those center supports, and see if that'll make the table a little bit more stable. So we're just kind of working on that. I finished up on all the adjustments. I was real happy with the X movement, but the Y, I'm sorry, this is X this way. I'm happy with the Y movement. The X is still kind of rough, you know, as it's jogging and rapiding and so forth. And I'm not sure what to do about it. I've gone through every adjustment that they recommend and double checked the measurements. Went through the squaring process to make sure this side was square with that side. And but I guess I'll just go back through it again and double check stuff. When I get this done and get it on the ground, I'll check it again and then show you what it's doing on camera. All right, well, we've got it down on the ground here for the first time, and got those center supports bumped out, and just a slight bit of pressure put on those, and locked into place. So we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. I just was going to show you real quick what I was talking about, the jittering, and I'll show you here on the Y travel, which is just the torch itself. You'll notice that it goes across there pretty smoothly. You don't really see any movement. It's pretty stable. And then when you go in the X movement, hopefully it'll pick it up here. Get the level over there. I don't know. Let me set the camera down and get it stable. Maybe you'll even feel it through the vibration here. I think you could probably pick it up a little bit there. Anyway, I have, the one adjustment I thought for sure was going to be it, were these idler sprockets here making contact with the actual bottom of the channel, and it would make sense as each one of the teeth are hitting that as it's rolling, that you're going to feel it. Well, I've triple checked that, and they, recommended that they be up 1/8 of an inch, and I set them there, and felt like maybe, you know, that it needed to be a little higher because there's a little cushion down in here. So I raised them up even more. So it's definitely not that. The only other thing it could be is just that the chains are, you know, slightly cocked on one side or the other, and it's constantly got it in a bind. You know, one side is just, you know, it's just an alignment issue. But I've tried just making, you know, quarter turn increments, meaning, you know, just loosen this a quarter, tighten that a quarter, to just sort of pull this side of the chain down to maybe, you know. So let me know what you guys think, if you have any thoughts on that. But the deal I showed in the video yesterday with the 1/2-inch plate cutting, we actually won that. So I'm going to get the stuff Monday and get going on it. So it's good timing that, you know, we got the table down on the ground. That'll be by far the heaviest thing I've had on the table. And we got at least some work done and got it, you know, somewhat dialed in. And the table was relatively level. I mean, it's not, the bubble's not dead in the center. This end down here could come up just a little bit. And then the same way, this corner is sitting just a touch low. So I may do a little bit of work on just some little, you know, sheet metal shims to go underneath there and see if we can get it level. But even if I didn't do that, I think it'd be good enough. So, all right, well, I'll stop rambling. Hope you guys are having a good Saturday, and I will see you soon.